Up next on The Bottom Line, Governor Hogan tells me funding for education is a top priority for 2016. We'll get council reaction. A conversation with the newly elected mayor of Gaithersburg. We'll meet some county students who are tearing up the dance floor, and a county program that rewards residents for being stewards of the environment. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Susan Kennedy. As this year quickly comes to a close, officials are anticipating budget numbers for 2016 and how funding from the state will play into that equation. At the last Board of Public Works meeting in Annapolis, I caught up with Governor Larry Hogan and asked him if money for Montgomery County schools is on his radar.
I dramatically increased education funding last year. No governor in the history of the state has ever spent more on K-12 education than I have. Last year, I was the first governor in the history of the state to ever put any money in GCI in his first year. This year, I'm going to be the first governor in history to ever fully fund GCI in the second year. So we're going to add substantial amounts of money to the school system again this year.
Last year, the governor withheld more than $17 million in Geographical Cost of Education Index funding, a formula that provides additional state school funds to the jurisdictions where the cost of education is higher. County Council Education Committee Chair Craig Rice says it is the law for the governor to honor that commitment.
What we're asking for the governor to do is to choose to prioritize education, not to react to legislation that's there that forces his hand, but to actually say, I want to see more education funding come to these jurisdictions that need it, and I value our kids. And that's not what he's done yet. He's continued to hide behind the fact of these automatic increases and inflationary instances that go into effect without any choice from him at all.
A disinvestment in education is not a sound economic development policy.
We know how much education is valued when it comes to economic development, something that the governor claims to be a champion of. Making sure that you have the talented workforce to be able to attract these businesses to come here. You can't do that without a strong education system and a heavy investment in K through 12 as well as secondary education.
Last year, Judd Ashman was selected by his colleagues on the Gaithersburg City Council to step in as mayor after Sidney Katz was elected to the county council. And in November, the residents of Gaithersburg elected him to serve the remaining 2 years of Councilmember Katz's term. We caught up with Judd Ashman to find out where he plans to direct his energy as mayor in the coming years. Okay. And here we are. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us today. Your second term as mayor. Talk a little bit about that campaign that you ran to become mayor. Was it a real grassroots effort?
Very much a grassroots effort. This is the fourth time I've been a candidate for election. All of my campaigns have been very grassroots, very knocking on doors and people-powered sort of endeavors.
What were you hearing when you went knocking on those doors? What kind of a response do you get? Do they like that one-on-one?
They do. What's great, and I think knocking on doors is such a healthy thing for us elected officials to do, is because most people don't come to mayor and council meetings and they're not corresponding with us, and so you're getting perspectives from people who are invested in the city, people who care about the city, but you don't otherwise hear.
Talk a little bit about the difference between being a council member, which you were before you became mayor. What are the differences in those two jobs?
In Gaithersburg's government, the mayor actually doesn't have a vote. So as a council member, you're one of 5 votes. What the mayor does in Gaithersburg is you speak for the city, you set the agenda, and I regard it as sort of the conductor of the orchestra. We have all these different players and egos and personalities and agendas, and you have to balance that and do your best to have the process bring the good ideas. It's a wonderful challenge. You wake up in the morning and find yourself mayor of one of the fastest growing, most diverse, most fiscally responsible cities in America. It's a wonderful thing. We have a great team. Staff makes us all look good, so yeah, what's not to like about this job?
The Gaithersburg Book Festival, you are a driving force behind that. That's a big deal here in Gaithersburg. Talk a little bit about that and what has prompted you to look at expanding it.
For those who don't know, it's an event that we have each May where we bring in authors from all over the country. In fact, last May we had 3 from Europe come in. And we're talking about bestsellers, Pulitzer winners, National Book Award winners to come and speak about their work and sign books. It's an amazing event. We've had, the past couple years, we've had 20,000 attendees from all over the region. It's not just the Gaithersburg thing. It's free to attend and free to park. I see a lot of opportunity for growth. We're having publishers now get in touch with us about bigger authors who are doing events. We just did an event with Frederick Forsyth, who you might remember from Day of the Jackal and Odessa File. We did an event with him at the Public Library. We've done events with David Baldacci and country music star Ricky Skaggs. And these ancillary events are one of the areas in which we'll be growing, and we hope to do them throughout the county, not just in the Gaithersburg area.
Let's switch gears to Crown Farm, which is a highly successful community. What is that annexation into Gaithersburg? What has that done to raise the image of the city?
It's Crown is going gangbusters, and it is our highest end in terms of the cost of housing there. I'll be really interested to see, as it's fully built out, what our community looks like, what it's made up of. Obviously we got a fabulous restaurant and retail scene going there. It's been a terrific boon for the city.
What's the best solution to reviving Old Town at this point in time? A lot of people, have fond memories, fond thoughts, and they like coming to Old Town. What needs to be done there?
Old Town needs some redevelopment. It's unclear. There's a lot of different kinds of challenges in Old Town, including parking, and the narrowness of streets, and there's some interesting challenges that can be overcome if we all work together. But whether it happens initially, whether this redevelopment and revitalization of the east side of Gaithersburg happens initially in Old Town, or whether it's Lake Forest, something really potent there, I think could also be the catalyst for Old Town. We'll see.
I am signing the letter knowing that Gaithersburg is in good hands. With the selection as Judd Ashman as mayor.
One final question. Sidney Katz, he's a legend here in Gaithersburg. What was it like to step into those shoes?
Thank you for all that you have done for me.
Sidney is a big challenge, and those are huge shoes. Sidney Katz is an amazing mentor. I am so fortunate that he makes himself available to me whenever I need. He's a great friend. I came into it knowing that, to use a sports metaphor, do you want to be the guy who steps in right after Joe Gibbs, or do you want to be the guy who replaces that guy? I knew what I was getting into. I knew it was going to be a big challenge. And, it is what it is.
The Montgomery County Rainscapes program offers rebates to homeowners who install watershed-friendly techniques. Here's program manager Ann English to tell us more about Rainscapes.
Rainscapes is a way to landscape your yard and your business, your church, in a way that reduces stormwater runoff and promotes native habitat. Typically people have a drainage problem they're trying to solve. And then they would apply to say, I know I want to do some sort of project after they've looked at our project list. We would send a planner out to their property to evaluate if that's a good project or if there's something better. And then once that's approved, we would ask for a planting plan or some sort of site plan. And then we expect people to get it done, and then they turn in their receipts. They sign a property owner agreement. And after the final inspection and acceptance, then we would issue a check.
I am proud to have led our council to adopt first-in-the-nation environmental measures on numerous occasions.
What you want to do is you want to capture rainwater on site and have it go into your garden, if you will, into your rain barrel, into your streetscape, and do it that way as opposed to have it rush down a street and then carry all the sediment with it. So you're trying to avoid sediment being carried into our streams, into our Chesapeake Bay, and holding it on site is a much better way to do it.
So one of the first things we do is we want to look at where that drop of water first hits the ground. And it hits the ground up on the roof, and in this case it's coming down through a rain chain. Usually it comes down through your gutter. And we talk about a little bit, or a treatment train, which is you catch a little bit at the very beginning. And in this garden, you can see they've done a sort of a dry stream bed effect, but the water can spill out as it goes away from the roof into the landscape. Some of the plants that are less tasty to deer are some of the sedges, which are these bluish green things, and these little tufts that will fill in and make a mass. This winterberry holly with all these beautiful red fruits, this is a very important food source for birds in the winter when there's not much else to eat. And there are other things in this garden like the lobelias, which are these blue and white flowers that are hummingbird attractors. And you can see, if you get close, there's a little bee that's tucked in, he's eating. I want to point out this passiflora vine, or also called passion flower. It's on the shrub, and it's the larval food for the Gulf fritillary butterfly. This plant likes the wet conditions that are created by the downspout rain chain, and so it's a great harmony with nature within the landscape. We're trying to make this act more like a forest. So our lawns don't act like a forest, but our streams developed in a forest habitat. So by adding in the plants that would grow in a forest, that would grow in this type of watershed, we actually are able to soak up and act like a sponge and improve the water quality before it ever gets to the stream.
There are many who will tell you they believe ballroom dancing is a lost art. At most school dances and proms, you won't find too many students who take to the floor to do the foxtrot. But at one county school, this nostalgic form of dancing has been part of the curriculum for decades.
Move over, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. These middle schoolers from Christ Episcopal Church in Rockville can really cut a rug. This isn't your average PE class. For 10 weeks every year, the 7th and 8th graders at this school learn dances like the foxtrot and the cha-cha as part of their annual curriculum.
They're always receptive to it. We've done practices on the green top outside. Sometimes we have to move it into the cafeteria when we have a book fair. But they're all pretty willing and ready to dance.
Side together, side, side together, side.
The students learn their moves from Frank Stanek, who has been teaching dance at CES for close to 17 years. When we visited the class, nerves were a little high.
We're getting a little tight.
It was dress rehearsal for the big performance for family and friends.
We've had 10 sessions over 2 months, and a Thanksgiving break thrown in, and a holiday here, so it's been kind of disjointed. Smile!
Yeah.
But they're like sponges. I mean, they'll pick it up. And then the 8th grade, this is 7th and 8th. So what's great is to see the 8th graders help the 7th grade, because they did it last year.
Tomas, Christina, and Maria Gakdeng looked like they were dancing on air during rehearsal. They told us initially the thought of ballroom dancing lessons was hardly appealing, but they've grown to like putting on their dancing shoes.
I wasn't very excited, but now that we're doing it and we're practicing more, I'm enjoying it. It's nice.
Last year, when I'd first heard about it, I didn't think it was going to be a very good idea because I didn't want to at all. But then I thought back to what we did last year, and I remembered how fun it was, and I couldn't wait for it again.
I can't say we've ever had anybody that didn't want to join in because they all, love to dance in some way or another.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Katz.
When Councilmember Sidney Katz heard about the class, he decided to stop in and see the performers for himself.
Grapevine. Cha-cha turn.
I didn't realize that Frank was your instructor.
Oh, do you
I've only
know?
known Frank forever. Yeah, he used to be an instructor in Gaithersburg.
Oh,
in fact,
great.
I told him I think my wife and I took a disco course from him years ago, and they did away with disco immediately.
This is something that they will be able to use the rest of their life. It really is fun to see, and hopefully they're enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying watching it.
And the dancers themselves, well, they were looking forward to strutting their stuff for their families and friends. So tonight's the big performance. How are you feeling?
I'm kind of nervous, but we've been practicing a lot, so I think we're going to get it down.
What about you? How are you feeling about all of this? You guys look pretty good out there.
Thank you. Can't wait.
Well, that does it for this edition of The Bottom Line. For County Cable Montgomery, I'm Susan Kennedy. Thanks for watching.
Are you having problems with Comcast, Verizon, or RCN? You've tried to reach the cable company, but the problem still remains? Call us at 311. We're the Montgomery County Office of Cable and Broadband Services. We're here for you. We can help you with billing issues, bad equipment, damage from construction in your yard, technical problems, cable availability, and service outages. Last year alone, we helped more than 1,200 residents. Call 311 or visit montgomerycountymd.gov/cable.